Hello and welcome back once again to North Toowoomba, Queensland, Australia. It's been a minute since my last video. The reason for that is the chin mount that I used broke and it took forever to get a new one. I made the mistake of ordering a new one using standard shipping. Express shipping is really ridiculously expensive. It's $70 Australian dollars from the US to Australia, which might not seem like that much, but considering that the part that I ordered cost about half that, it annoyed me. So I ordered it standard shipping and it took almost a month to get here. I might order a couple of spare parts so I don't have to deal with that in the future. Probably should have done that in the first place. Ah well, we live and learn. So doing something a little different today, and this is actually going to be a part of things going forward for me. This isn't the first time. So in the time since the last video, I've started doing something new. I'm not the world's biggest Moto Jitsu fan, but I do think he has a ton of really good information on his site, and sometimes has really good, just simple little tips. One of them that he mentioned on his channel was just anytime you're going to go do a ride, go to your local parking lot and do 5 minutes of figure eights or U-turns. And I thought that sounded like a great idea. I have to do load speed practice. I'm not super comfortable on this bike at the low speed stuff yet, even though it's a really good and really easy bike to do low speed stuff on. So I've started coming out here to St. Andrews, Toowoomba, and doing figure eights for 5 minutes at a time. So far, nobody's said anything to me about it. And yeah, it's something that I used to do a lot of. Come on now. For some reason, pressing that never works with the glove on. I used to belong to a group called Foxy's MC in Sydney, which is kind of a tongue-in-cheek motorcycle club name. And you know, that was a group that was put together just to get everybody through the graduated licensing program that they have here in Australia. And I made it through and did well, and kept coming back because, you know, I made a lot of friends there, and did it for quite a while. Got pretty good at the low speed stuff on the Kawasaki, and now it's time to do the same on this bike. I'm up in Queensland now, so I don't have access to that group of people to go do it with anymore, but you know, all you really need is a parking lot. If it looks so far like I feel a little unsure of myself, it's because I do. And now I can do figure eights on this bike really easily, but I do it by leaning the bike over, not by hitting the steering lock. Just put a foot down. So what I'm working on doing today is just hitting that steering lock, and I'm going to work on this until I can do it without, you know, kind of just limping around like I'm doing now. So going this way, I'm better to my left than I am to my right, as a lot of people are. Didn't hit it at all that time. But you know, this stuff is important. It's important to have this skill. It's an important building block, a foundational building block if you want to be able to corner well, and I do. I actually feel like I corner a lot better than I do this right now. So what I'm doing is just hitting the steering lock, and I'll do that as upright as I am until I'm hitting the steering lock consistently every time. I'm already getting a little bit better at it, even in the minute and a half or so since I've been doing it today. But once I get to that point that I can consistently hit the steering lock without riding like a gimp like I am right now, then I'll start leaning the bike more. And you know, the goal, I guess, is to be able to do this completely within 2 parking spaces, which I don't know, I'm coming pretty close to right now. That was within 2. But yeah, it's for some reason I just have a little bit of trouble getting all the way to the steering locks. It might be because the steering locks are a long way on this bike. And so yeah, we need to be able to control our bikes. Not even going on a long ride today, just going to the store, but I haven't done this in a couple of days, and I'm trying to be consistent with it. You know, just 5 minutes a day, that's all you need. If you use that 5 minutes well, you can be a better rider. But I thought it was a, you know, maybe obvious to some people to do something like this before you ride every time, but it wasn't to me. And I thought it was a good idea. And I like to apply good ideas as quickly as possible. Yikes. It's a little embarrassing letting you see me flail around a parking lot like this, but you got to start somewhere. You really do. And if you don't do this kind of stuff regularly, start. I used to do it regularly. I used to be pretty good at it. I couldn't quite do those police course type things, and we would set up cones like that in that group that I would ride with. We would set up cones to do stuff like that, but it just wasn't anything that I practiced that much. Like I practiced the U-turns and the low speed stuff, but I didn't practice specifically being good at doing it in the cones. And that's the goal. Like, my short-term goal is to consistently and comfortably make U-turns within 2 parking spaces, which this bike, as you might have been able to see there, can easily do. Sir? But then the longer term goal is to develop that to the point where I can lay out a smaller one of those police type courses and comfortably navigate it. So, channel news, not a ton. I have a backlog of ideas at this point that I have not been able to video. I've been meaning to do a 1,000-kilometer owner's review of this bike. I have blown past those 1,000 kilometers. I'm at 3,500 now, so it will be a 3,500-kilometer owner's review, which I reckon should be fine because I know the bike a good bit better than I did at, oh, was that the wrong turn? I think it was. fortunately I can do a U-turn now. I know the bike better now than I did at 1,000 kilometers, so it should be a better review. I do want to do several, you know. I do want to do this one and then a 10,000 kilometer one, and then maybe another one in a couple of years. But I definitely want to get that initial one out of the way. I also have a couple of products I want to review. I want to discuss the UX/UI of this bike. Some people have issues with it, and I want to talk about it from the perspective of somebody who owns and lives with it on a daily basis, because I don't think it's as bad as some people have made it out to be. At the same time, there are some improvements that could be made. So we'll get around to that sometime over the next, I'll have that video released sometime over the next month. And yeah, hopefully get a lot more stuff in now that the camera is back up again.